Hey guys, today's video I'm going to be talking about a super annoying problem, which is that you may not be getting Dolby Atmos or DTSX on your system, even though you've got all the right parts and everything should be working. And mine happens to be on a Sony Blu-ray player. It's a 6500, but it could be with pretty much any player. So that's what today's topic is on, and I've got Angel there. She's her nose is clearing up quite well, and Bear's off getting primped and cleaned, so it's just her today. But for those of you that are new to my channel, basically I do my best to help viewers get a great home audio experience, whether it be just for music or home theater, that kind of thing. And you can go through and browse my videos and find topics that I've already covered, like the importance of dual subs and how I set up my AVR, things like that. So you can check that out. Back to the Sony player, it's not a super expensive player. It's not a top-of-the-line player. It's very basic. It's very small. It's just this little player there. Let's see if I can zoom in so you can see a little bit better. And you can also see, I've got my cable box here. I've got my Blu-ray player there. And I've also got a mini DSP 2x4, which I've been playing around, which is kind of why the amp's open like that. But anyway, it's not the most top-of-the-line player out there. It's not an Oppo or anything like that. But it's decent. It gets the job done. But the default settings are not ideal. The default settings are an issue, particularly if you're going Atmos or like I said, DTSX or anything like that. The default setting on the AVR, okay, on the 6200, that's the Denon X6200. Very nice amp. I enjoy it quite a bit. But the default setting on it is Dolby Surround. And, that's when you have it in surround mode anyway. So if you're playing just basic music or a regular, movie on Netflix or something like that, something that's not specifically stated as being surround or 5.1 or 7.1 or anything like that, everything pretty much defaults to Dolby Surround. Okay. Now, when you play movies that, at least in this situation, when you play movies on Netflix or regular kind of mixed movies through the Sony player, then you get DDS2. Okay, and so you see that there's a change. You see that, okay, I didn't just go from, it's not still in just Dolby Surround, it's DDS2 or whatever it is. And so you see that change has gone through, and in your mind you're thinking, okay, it's making the switch. It's full on now, and you make that assumption. And I did that. I thought, okay, this is different now. And, it's definitely different than just basic, the basic Dolby Surround, but it definitely fooled me for a bit. And I know I'm not the only one out there, and I've seen this topic come up in some forums and things like that. So it's just kind of annoying. So, as you guys know, I've recently gone full immersive or object-based surround. I've got the elevation speakers, the heights and front and rear. So I'm running a 5.2.4. So I've got 4 surrounds, or 4 heights, I'm sorry. And so in this basic configuration, it does sound good. It's not like it's a bad sound or it's horrible or anything like that. I like it. It's nice. Even with some music and stuff like that, I get that elevated sense, and it's a really nice setup. I wasn't unhappy with it. But I did, one of the complaints that I had, when I did the elevation review, which, by the way, when I did that, I did not know about this. So when I did the elevations review, I was not getting the full Atmos effect. I'm still really happy with them, and I still am extra happy with them now, I'll tell you that. But I don't know, I felt like there wasn't enough separation between channels. So, as you can see here, I've got the front channel and then satellite up there. And so that's a pretty good separation, but I was still like, oh, maybe they need to be on the ceiling, to really get the full effect. Maybe, because I felt like it wasn't quite there. And so, and also I'm just getting in, this is my first Atmos receiver. And so I'm still kind of getting used to it. It's not that foreign to me. I had an X2000 before the X6200, so same brand, same line, so to speak. But I still wasn't 100% familiar with everything. And so I started digging around, and I was curious. I wanted to know what each label meant as I went through, and as the label comes up in the screen, what does it mean? What am I getting? Is it true HD? Is it this? Is it that? And so I got online and I looked at the, I looked at the manual to find out what's there, what's working, what isn't. And by the way, I'll probably never know everything that amplifier does. I mean, these things are complex. It's not, they're not just simple plug and play. There's a lot to learn about them. So, I probably could learn every single nuanced thing, but a lot of it just doesn't apply to me. So, but these things are complicated. So anyway, I got in there and I started looking around, and I discovered that there was an actual Atmos label and an actual DTSX label when you are getting those programs. And I wasn't getting them. I was just getting the, DDS2 or whatever it was. And so I'm like, what is going on here? And so, and I already switched, for those of you who don't know, I use audio return channel, which is one of the reasons I like the Denon better than the Marantz, because the Marantz had the small portal display. But I usually run my Blu-ray player through my TV and then have it do all the switching and then run that through the audio return channel into my AVR. Makes everything simple. Plug everything in. It all works. It's simplified. But I wanted to learn more about the on-screen menu on the Denon and things like that. So I had to run the Blu-ray player through the Denon instead of through the TV. And I thought that would also eliminate any chance that the TV might be having an impact on the Atmos signal. But there was no change. Everything was just the same. It didn't seem to affect anything. I don't know if running it through the TV would affect any of this stuff that I'm talking about. I haven't tried that yet. I don't know. I may tinker with that later on, but as of right now, I'm just talking about the Blu-ray player settings. Now, let's go ahead and switch over to the Blu-ray player so you guys can see what I'm talking about. So I gotta switch over to my Denon, and then I gotta switch the Denon over to the Blu-ray. Alright. So now I'm on the Blu-ray disc player, and now, consequently, I can see the on-screen menu and see what's going on, see everything that's coming through. So, you get to see everything. You get to see your active speakers, you get to see your input signal and all that good stuff. So there's a good benefit to using the on-screen display, which is one of the things I wanted to get to know. But what I want to show you here, let's go to the home menu of this. I've got Dracula in there right now, which is the Blu-ray version is actually Dolby Atmos. Let's see, did this go? No, it didn't go. All right. And so I've only got 3 Atmos movies right now. I've got, Secret Life of Pets, you guys know that. And I've got San Andreas 3D. And then I've got Dracula. And the new version, the Blu-ray version, is Atmos. The old version is not, but that's why we already had this. We already had the the DVD version, but we went out and got this specifically because it had Atmos, and I'll talk about that here in a minute. All right, so we go up to the setup menu, and let's see. I'll kind of zoom in a little bit so we can get a little more clear here. All right, so we go down to the audio settings. All right, so all these settings. What does each one do? You have to look it up. I mean, really, you have to look up everything and find out what each thing does. Now, what I'm going to do, is I'm going to, let's see, resetting. Is this the thing I want to do? Yeah, okay. Reset to factory default. So I'm going to show you guys, I'm just going to reset the audio settings to factory default. Yes, I want to do that. So start, settings complete, doesn't take very long, very simple process. So this is the way it comes from the actual, this is the way it comes out of the box, okay? Now, so this is the way it came. So now I'm going to go ahead and switch back, and hopefully I don't get any copyright stuff with this, but I'm going to go ahead and play just the initial part. I am going to put it on mute so that I don't get any of that copyright stuff. But I'm going to show you down here. Let's see if I can zoom that in enough for you guys to see it. Alright, so it shows multi-channel stereo. And then once it starts going, alright. Okay, so play Dolby DTS. Alright? Or Dolby D plus DTS. Alright, so that's what came up when I thought, okay, I'm getting Atmos. I'm getting everything that's supposed to work. Alright, so it's one of those things, it was a stupid assumption of mine that's what was happening. Now I'm kind of glad this all happened, honestly, because I watched these 3 movies before like this, without Atmos, right? So I know what they sounded like before. So when I fix this issue, I know what it sounded like after, all right? So I'm going to go back to the on-screen menu, and I'm going to show you the option that I became aware of that fixed this. Let's go back up here to Setup. Let's see here. All right, so Audio Settings. All right, now I wrote all this stuff down so I know how I want everything set up. So let me zoom back out here a little bit. All right. So the digital audio output, I have that as auto, which is the way it comes default. DSD output mode is set to off on manual, or on the default settings. So I'm going to go ahead and switch that to auto. All right. Now, BD audio mix setting is on, okay, and that is the default. Now, this is the setting that if you turn this off, at least as far as I understand it, this is what allows you to get Atmos. Okay, so the BD audio mix setting. Now I'm going to go down here, digital audio mix enhancer. I'm going to set that to off. Again, some of these settings may actually also impact the Atmos effect. I just know for sure that audio mix setting does. And then Dolby D compatible output. Let's see, that one I have off, and that's because it switches DTS over to Dolby, I believe. Yeah, whether to convert DTS audio. So if you have that on and you're trying to run a DTSX movie, you may not get the DTSX. So again, tricky stuff. Audio DRC is auto, I leave it there. And the down mix, you can leave it to stereo or surround. I set mine to surround. So these are the settings that I use, all right? Again, the important one for me in this situation was the BD audio mix setting. All right, so now we'll go back to the home page and we'll go down to the disc, and then I'm going to show you down here. All right, hopefully you guys can see that, multi-channel, and everything's kind of switching around. Alright, any old time now. Not the fastest player, by the way, but not the slowest either, but you know, it's not amazing, it's not lightning quick. Alright, so now I'm switching to actual Dolby Atmos. Alright, so that's just one of those things that it'd be nice if they would have included that in the let's see, I'm going to zoom back out here so you guys can see the on-screen menu. It'd be nice if they would actually include the fact that, hey, if you use this setting, it's going to upset Atmos. or DTSX or anything like that. So now you can see that I've got sound is Dolby Atmos. I've got my multi XT32 is set to flat, dynamic EQ on, dynamic volume off. It shows the active speakers, and if I actually play this for a second, it'll show the active speakers that are going. So, you know, so this is, you're actually getting the Dolby Atmos this way, all right? So, you know, it's one of those things, guys. I don't know. It was amazing to me the difference that I heard with this, because it wasn't just, oh, I'm getting these settings now. It was, wow, this is a whole different movie. Okay, let me go back to my web browser there. All right, so because I don't want to get a copyright infringement on that kind of thing. I shouldn't, but I don't know. I'm just kind of weird about that stuff. But anyway, so you know, if they had identified what it was, if they had identified the settings and said, okay, this will affect it, that'd be one thing, but it doesn't. And so that's a major, and the fact that it comes out default like that, there's a lot of people out there that could be having their Blu-ray players like this and they have no idea. They think they're getting Atmos or DTSX and they're just getting basic stuff. And, you know, but what's the difference? Okay, and keep in mind, in order to get all of this, you need to have all the equipment. You need to have, you know, a Atmos receiver. You need to have Atmos movies. Everything has to be Atmos compatible. Most Blu-ray players are, you know, it's not a big deal, but they have to be set right, obviously. But, you know, like the rat scene, or not the rat scene, the castle scene during Dracula, where the guy's just getting there and he's just meeting Dracula for the first time. The difference, man, I cannot explain the difference. I mean, before it was just like, oh, okay, yeah, there's a lot going on here. You know, you could hear things off in the distance, da da da. With Atmos on, with that in a full effect, it felt like there were rats crawling across where there were no speakers. Okay, it was amazing. You could hear things, you could hear people moaning in the background, you could almost make out what they were saying. All of this I didn't hear when I had it in just Dolby Surround plus DTS. It wasn't there. I mean, it was, but it just wasn't clear. It wasn't separated. The effect just wasn't there. I mean, the movie sounded really good that way, but it sounded so much better in Atmos. I mean, man, the difference was amazing, and the dynamics in the sound itself was so impressive. It was just, I don't know, this little upgrade, this little thing was just so worth it to get this switch to actually play Atmos. It was amazing. And, you know, previously, as I said, I felt the heights needed to be further away from the ear level speakers, but I didn't get that anymore. I'm not like, oh, I need to mount these on the ceiling. No, 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 this is fine. This sounds awesome. I don't need to ceiling mount these. You could, it would probably add to it. It'd be a little bit better, all that, but I didn't feel like, oh, I'm missing it, I need to do that to make it work. No, this fixed that problem like that. It was no problem. Another scene that I'll talk about is the garage scene in San Andreas. The first time I watched that movie, it was all right. It was, you know, I thought, well, because there's so much going on, it's too hard to tell all these different effects. It's too hard to localize them. No, I just had the wrong setting. On Atmos, the garage scene, it was just amazing. It felt like stuff was really coming down on top of you. I mean, you know, it's one of those moments that makes you turn your head like, whoa, what was that? It was awesome. So I'm so glad I got this fixed. I mean, it was a game changer. So, you know, I still think the Sony is a good player. And especially if you change those settings, it's an even better player. You know, it's not the, you know, again, it's not the most high-end player there is out there. I mainly got that player long before I was considering going Atmos, and it was just because my PS3 was just too dang loud. It was taking away from the whole experience. So that's the main reason I went with that. It wasn't because I was looking for the best. I just wanted something capable and quiet. but it serves its function. It's decent. So I'm not trying to bag on the Sony Blu-ray player at all. It's decent, but my point is that player and potentially a lot of other players may have this same issue. So it's worth looking at. If you have an Atmos AVR and you've got an Atmos movie and you're playing it and you don't see the Atmos thing come up in the menu, take a look. Look around. It may be one of those things that you have a problem with, just like me. So that's why I wanted to do this video. I think hopefully it'll be helpful to a lot of people. You know, this setup, okay, going from what I had before. I had the X2000 Denon to the X6200. You know, that was specifically so that I could do Atmos. Okay, so that was a pretty big expense. Add in the speakers, you're talking over $2,000 to do something like this. And you do all that, and then to not actually get it because of a stupid little setting, you know, your mind can explode a little bit. So anyway, that's why I want to do this video, guys. Hopefully some of you guys find this useful. Some of you guys are going to be like, how come you didn't do this in the first place? You know, I make mistakes, right? And I'm still learning some of this stuff. So, but this should be useful to you guys. And by the way, I am still going to be doing a few videos coming up. I've got the Mini DSP 2x4, I'm going to be talking about that. I've also got the Room EQ Wizard video. I'm going to be doing that soon. So stay tuned. If you go to the subscribe button, you hit the little alarm button so you get notified of my new videos. That'd be great. That way you guys don't miss that one. But hopefully this video helped. And again, let me know if you guys have any suggestions on videos, topics you want covered, things like that. I've been trying to fit in a bunch of videos that I've been meaning to do for a long time, like this one. You know, this one I should have done about a month ago or longer. But you know, I had other videos I need to take care of, and so I'm trying to get it all together. But anyway, guys, thanks for watching, and please subscribe. Hey guys, today's video I'm going to be talking about a super annoying problem, which is that you may not be getting Dolby Atmos or DTS:X on your system, even though you've got all the right parts and everything should be working. And mine happens to be on a Sony Blu-ray player. It's a 6500, but it could be with pretty much any player. So that's what today's topic is on. And I've got Angel there. She's her nose is clearing up quite well, and Bear's off getting primped and cleaned. So it's just her today. But for those of you that are new to my channel, basically I do my best to help viewers get a great home audio experience, whether it be just for music or home theater, that kind of thing. And you can go through and browse my videos and find topics that I've already covered, like the importance of dual subs and how I set up my AVR, things like that. So you can check that out. Back to the Sony player, you know, it's not a super expensive player. It's not a top-of-the-line player. It's very basic. It's very small. It's just this little player there. Let's see if I can zoom in so you can see a little bit better. And you can also see, you know, I've got my cable box here. I've got my Blu-ray player there. And I've also got a Mini DSP 2x4, which I've been playing around, which is kind of why the amp's open like that. But anyway, you know, it's not the most top-of-the-line player out there. It's not an Oppo or anything like that. But it's decent. You know, it gets the job done. But the default settings are not ideal. The default settings are an issue, particularly if you're going Atmos or like I said, DTS:X or anything like that. You know, the default setting on the AVR, okay, on the 6200, that's the Denon X6200. Very nice amp. I enjoy it quite a bit. But the default setting on it is Dolby Surround. And, you know, that's when you have it in surround mode anyway. So if